Welcome to the Summit Life Group YouTube channel, where we are always looking to help create and mold and help our clients and help our agents. We're a unique platform that connects consumers directly with licensed professionals, both in the insurance and retirement space. And today I'm really excited because we have one of our top agents on the call with us today who has decades of experience in the retirement space. And we were talking off camera a little bit about a story, and I learned a lot from, and I didn't know that, which is crazy. But it's really nice when you find people, Greg, that you can run with. Good people you can trust, share the common goals and dreams. I'm a huge fan of the insurance and retirement space, financial services in general. It changed my life when it was introduced to me. And fast forward to where we are today, having the opportunity to get around people like yourself, learn from the decades of experience that you have, how you're always, client facing. You always are looking to provide value, which is why you're a top producer in this space. So a little bit about, your biography. You've learned how to come tremendous adversity. So I want to hear a little bit about this, about sustaining a broken neck and that accident. You founded Starlight Retirement Planning Services with the simple mission of helping people build worry-free retirement. I know you've got over 20 years of experience in the financial services space. You served in the United States Air Force, serving in Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and of course, you're an entrepreneur and you have a passion for helping people and mentoring people. So thank you so much for being on the call today. Tell me a little bit about how you were introduced to this. Well, first, tell me a little bit about you, Greg, and what's helped form you to who you are today.
Well, Dave, thank you for having me on here. I appreciate the opportunity. The story that brought me into this kind of comes from a different area, different spots, but specifically when you're talking about the injury, I can share a little bit about myself first. I'm married, 10 kids.
Crazy. That was the biggest stat I was talking about. Yeah. Impressive.
Well, that would be why you'd want to be an entrepreneur. Rich talks about lifestyle, but part of the reason why I got into it is I wanted to be one of the only dads at school.
Yeah.
On the field trips, the doctor's appointments, being at home with the kids. So that led me into that. I was kind of brought up in an entrepreneurial family, drinking different color soap when I was a kid and all that other stuff. My parents brought me up in that. But years later, after serving in the military, I was a fireman and then did some other things past that. So service was really important to me on how I could help people get through situations and problem solving.
Right.
There's a lot of directions I learned with that, but later, down the road after I got out, there was something that happened in my life that really was a pivot to why I wanted to get involved with what I'm doing and more helping people directly. And I was in a car accident, and I broke what's called the occipital condyle, which is the fuse box of your body. It's the bump in the back of your head. I'm clinically dead for about 9 minutes. It's interesting. Going through all that, I had to learn how to walk and talk and breathe all over again. And what I learned as an entrepreneur and getting through adversity is what they said was going to take 9 months to heal. We got up and running in about 90 days.
Right.
Just because we ignored what the world told us what we needed to do, and we figured out what we should do. Mm-hmm. And as I learned through all of that, I started looking into what I wanted to do for a career. Mm-hmm. And as I started looking around for estate planning and insurance, and I didn't know anything really about the insurance industry. I grew up a little bit watching my parents with it, but when I got into the industry and got kind of baptized in another agency for a couple of years, I figured out that what the world was telling everybody they should do to retire wasn't necessarily the right thing to do to retire.
Right.
And I was watching clients listening to advisors, and the advisors were just telling them, hey, just go ahead and do this and do this and do this. And as much as being a producer is important, I wanted to be in a place where I could have my clients work with me, mm-hmm. and more be a trusted situation.
Right.
So I went off, started my own agency. And the passion to that was not to just focus on annuities or life insurance, but it really was to understand how they wanted to retire and not what the world told them they should do to retire.
Right.
And looking at their whole situation as a holistic idea. Learning very quickly, I didn't want to hang a sign up on my door that said I had 9 different things I was good at, but I was only good at one. Mm-hmm. So I took the idea right away in building a team. and had, accountants and CPAs and Social Security and, investors, everything to do with retirement. We even had a builder that was trusted to do, to do remodels. I just got involved in the community. So when our clients came to us and we did a full review, we could really help them in every area. And if I didn't know the answer, I knew that our partners did.
Right.
So they could come to us, and we were a trusted firm that said, Greg, hey, you know what? You've got our annuities. I need to remodel my house. Greg, hey, you have our life insurance, but I'm not happy with my car insurance.
Right.
Where would I go? So I learned what being a trusted advisor was. Up until then, I was just kind of a producer. But that's been my passion, Dave, is to help people create a safe environment, and then learning what a guaranteed income for life was.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of farmers that had a lot of money packed away, didn't know what they were going to do when they were retired. They were just going to invest it, and they had hope.
Right.
Was kind of their basis for retirement. And I learned to help people to take hope away from retirement. Hope is important, but we hope I have money. We hope the market doesn't fall. We hope, we hope, we hope.
Right.
And I wanted to give more ideas from my clients teaching me that they didn't want hope. They wanted to know some realities. So then we started focusing on just total retirement planning, understanding Social Security strategies, guaranteed income for life, protecting money from losses. A partner of mine, I got good with Medicaid spend down. He owns 19 different care centers in 4 states.
Right.
So I understood how Medicaid spend down worked. And I have 3 autistic kids. So I understand Social Security from an internal standpoint, Medicare and Medicaid. And a lot of the examples I have, fortunately or unfortunately, that my clients come to me with, I've already kind of walked through,
right.
Either with my own situation or with my kids.
Right.
And then understanding legacies. Protecting somebody's estate. I've helped settled. I know my wife and I were looking at the other day. We've helped settled over 68 states. Or estates, I guess.
Right.
You could say with wills and trusts, with folks that have come to us of hey, you've been an advisor, now you got my parents. I just got a call a couple days ago where a client of mine's probably going to be passing away with a broken hip, and
Right.
the daughters called us. Now you're not just taking care of your clients, but you start taking care of your kids as clients.
Right.
They become clients and things. But it's just the passion to see the peace in people's eyes, that they know that when something happens, their spouses are taken care of and their kids are taken care of.
Yeah.
That's really what I want to do, is just kind of help people solve the problem, not now, but down the road as well.
Yeah. And you've been so good at it and constantly leveling up. And one of the things that I've come across throughout the years I've been a decade plus that I've been in this space is, top performers aren't hoarders, right? They have a very much so abundance mindset, and they're always open to sharing and teaching. And that's something that I'm grateful that you share as well. Talking, because these videos that we're doing and interviews that we're doing, they're really, in my perspective, geared toward either the person looking at this industry, the new person in this industry, or someone who's trying to kind of get going. They believe, they like the opportunity, but they just haven't seen much success. And so that's why I want to interview people like yourself who perform at such a high level for such a long period of time. If you could go back, and mentor, the 20-year-old version of yourself, right? Like, think about Rich and his son, Owen, 18, 19 years old, just passed his insurance test. And what an opportunity, right? Could you imagine going back with the knowledge you have now at that age? What would be, the top 3, 4 things that you would advise them to be successful in this business?
I just had that conversation last night with one of the partners. I was talking with him, and if you were brand new coming into the industry, well, the most important thing that I see now that's been important to me is finding an IMO, an organization, Summit Life Group, that you can partner up with. Why is that so important? Because they're going to have everything you need as a platform. They're going to have all the leads. They're going to have the training. They're going to have the mentorship. They're going to have all the administrative helps, computer software. That in itself takes so much away that an agent coming into it brand new. When I first started, I didn't know what to do. And when I opened up my office, my CRM was 5 foot tall and 3 foot wide. It was in a back room. So that would be the first thing, is to find the right organization, which I believe is Summit Life Group. I've been doing this for 20 years, and finding the right organization that you can safely build, that's the most important thing. Secondly, finding a path that you're excited about, because there's so many different ways you can go. You can go life insurance, you can go annuities. There's a lot of ways you can go. Finding a path that you're excited about and getting good at that path. And then, I think along the way with that really is finding a personal coach and mentor, like Owen is working with his father.
Right.
Early on in the industry, I didn't have that. I really had to seek that out to find somebody and chase and chase and chase. If you can find an IMO like Summit Life Group that has coaches and mentors that are already available that want to help, that have daily training available, those are the big thing, is finding a safe IMO, having everything available, finding a path that you want to go, and finding a coach and a mentor in the industry. If you got those three things, everything else is going to fall into place. Now you got to want to do it,
Right.
but if you have those three things, that's what makes this industry unique. And I can tell you, outside of, not being biased at all, even though I am to Summit Life Group, but not being biased. Water's always better in a Summit Life Group coffee cup.
That's right. That's right.
But, outside of this, I can tell you, IMOs they aren't generally looking to want to help an agent necessarily succeed from the ground up. They want to take the one that's already been moving and ride that tailwind. So for someone like Owen or Isaac, my son, I'm starting to work with him right away. I always tell him, make sure you're plugged into the people that want to succeed and duplicate that, but then make it your own.
Yeah.
So I know I've kind of rambled a little bit, but yeah, the top three I would say would be finding an organization that's safe, that has everything that you need. Yeah. Find a path that you're good at and stick with it, and then find a mentor along the way that's been successful doing it.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more with all three of those things. And one of the things that I love about you, Greg, is how you create goals and then plans behind it. A lot of people don't understand this skill in goal setting, because it is one, right? It's not just, I'm a huge fan of goal setting, because I believe it's what keeps the motor, going and keeps you moving forward, keeps you motivated, keeps you inspired. But it's not just, hey, I want to make $500,000 this year. That's great. That's more of an idea. But goals to me, which you completely are the perfect example of, is a goal is something that you create that you're going after. But then you create what I like to call the targets, which are the action items that you need to take in order to hit your goals. So tell me, because you've got some big, you hit your goals this year and you did an incredible job. And I think you're going to do double the numbers in 26. Because you know exactly what you're going after. So you have complete clarity of what you're trying to achieve. You broke it down. So you create action items in order to achieve those. And you broke it down monthly, weekly, daily. So tell me the importance when you're, especially at the beginning, but I think regardless of where anyone is in their career, how important is it to have goals that you're actively pursuing? And how important is it not to just have the goal in mind, but the right way to create the goals, which is the plan, putting timelines on it, a sense of urgency. Touch on that and how you kind of learned that and how it's benefited you so far in your career.
Well, I learned that really at a young age from my parents, but I think more so for me when I was in the military. We had to wake up every morning and we had to have three outcomes that we expected to happen every day. Because there was people that were depending on us, there was places that we needed to go and things that we needed to get done. And without a goal in mind, you're not waking up with any intention. There's no purpose. There's no purpose driven to wake up. So for me, every morning I wake up and, I have three outcomes that I'm going to do for that day already. I know when I go to bed, I have three outcomes. When I wake up, those are the same. When I put together the goals that I had for this next year, I run everything in 100 days. Dave, because what that does for me is it knows that I only have to improve 1% a day.
There you go.
And I do everything in a 100-day run. And I know that today I'm 1% better than I was yesterday. So often with goals, people get overloaded with them and they look at the whole year. Well, gosh, I want to do, millions of dollars this next year in annuity business, but that's got to be done by December 31st. I have all that weight weighing on me that I'm doing that for the whole year. But for me, I run it at 100 days and I break it down for the whole year of what I need to do, how many leads that's going to take, how many calls that's going to take, how many appointments I need, how much I need to close, what's the average volume I need to do. I break all that down, but I only do it in 100 days. I look at this is what I've got for the year. Now, what do I need to do the next 100 days? But, and then every day, again, those three outcomes,
Mm-hmm.
if so, today I still woke up and I had follow-up calls that I needed to do first. That
Right.
was one of my outcomes. The second was to schedule appointments into next year, brand new. Thirdly was to do some goal setting and some review of what I'm going to be doing to finish the year out. So those things that I do, but I break it down so it's simple.
Mm-hmm.
If someone wants to do $4 million in annuity business for this next year, that's not hard to break down. It's figuring out each week, how many new appointments do I need to get, whatever that figure is. And then how many of those new appointments, if that's 5 a week, that's 20 a month. How many of those do I have to close at what average volume to be able to get the number I want to get? So if you're wanting to do, $300,000 a month in the industry, you have to do, $100,000 a week for 3 weeks, or
Mm-hmm.
$75,000 a week for 4 weeks. You can break that down and make it simpler rather than just going, man, I'm doing $4 million. I've never done that before. But making it real and simple and something that's for you. And someone told me along the way that and it may sound different, you always want to expect positive results, but sometimes I expect failure, in
Right.
the sense that things are going to change along the way. Not that my goal failed, but I'm going to have challenges. And as I get through that 100 days, if I hit 80 days and something isn't working, then I'm going to readjust it.
That's
I'm
right.
open to readjusting my goals. And so many people, when they hit a road bump, they just quit. Oh, so my goals are over and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm open to making sure that, I used to sail on boats. A lot of people don't know that. I used to love to sail. And when we would get out in the middle of nowhere and the wind would stop moving, it's actually still there. You just need to adjust your sails.
Right.
And it may take you a different direction, but that's the direction that you need to be.
Yeah. So important when it comes, like, because all of those things, I've seen more naturally talented people come in with high expectations and get out of this business because they didn't necessarily know how to deal with failure or adversity. It's difficult learning new things, especially at our age. And as you get older, learning something new can tend to be very difficult for people. It's why we should always have a sponge-like mindset. But the importance of having someone or a community, like you said, a coach, a mentor, even just running mates, because, for all the lone rangers out there, this could be a very, lonely business at times. I was talking to Jay just yesterday about, looking back at the COVID era, that 2-3 year period where we just weren't allowed out of the houses. A lot of, like myself included, you don't realize it, but you're still kind of recovering because, that's when we really got rocking with Summit Life Group, building the foundations and the platforms. And so it was just nonstop, go, go, go. Couldn't leave the house. So it was work. Right. And you just isolate yourselves. And some people haven't really gotten back to people. And so many successful or would-be successful agents quit because they didn't have someone to lean on. They didn't have you to say, hey, there's dry spells, right? You're going to go through periods of time where everybody that you talk to is a sale, it feels like, and you're going to go through periods where it's not, but you got to focus on the process. Like you said at the beginning, the 100-day increments, I love that so much because half the battle of succeeding is understanding not to let your mind beat you at times. Like sometimes you're doing all the right things, but you're talking to somebody who's day one of the sales funnel. They're just starting to educate themselves on annuities. Or you might find someone towards the end of it and they like you and connect with you. You solve their problems, but you don't know what you don't know as a new person. And I wouldn't be where I'm at without Rich, right? And I think Rich would say the same because gosh, when we first got in this space, we didn't make a sale for 6 months, right? Maybe 8 months, really. But we were driven with the vision and the goal of, hey, like you said earlier, we want to build a lifestyle business. We want to be able to create platforms allows people to make as much as they earn as much as they want if they're willing to work for it in several different ways, but also give you the freedom not to miss your kids' events. Like that's one of the biggest things. Creating the skill set, showing people there are ways that you can control your time and your schedule in this industry. Like you said, goal setting and having someone, those are two critical pieces that people who have succeeded in this business have followed. Can you do it by yourself? Yes. Can you do it without setting goals? Yes. But is it easier the other way? 100%. Because what you said about your military experience, waking up with intention, that is a separator. and it's mindsets. So, we have the 1% Club, which is just a book of the month. Tell me the importance in your eyes, how important it is to constantly, you know, keep your mind focused on improvement through, reading books, listening to audiobooks, whatever you're doing by passing the time. How important that is it for you in your life?
Well, if you're not constantly moving forward, you're just going to die off.
Right.
And by reading a book, listening to an audio, getting on a call with one of your coach or mentors, that's it's important to me because it always brings awareness and it brings more clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And even by reading, if you're reading the book enough, it'll point out to you where your weak points are,
Mm-hmm.
where where you need to improve. But if I'm not reading a book a month or a book, or a book every 2 weeks, it's a phrase that you hear a lot. But if you're not, if you're not growing, you're not going.
Yeah, there you go.
A business doesn't maintain itself. It either moves forward or it moves backwards. Someone told me a long time ago, Greg, if you're looking for balance in your business, join the circus. Balance is always moving forward. It's not just I'm going to stay where I'm at and I'm just going to maintain. So mentally, this is 90% of what we do is all mindset.
Right.
And my mind can only grow so much on my own. So it's very key for everybody that's in any business, whether you're an entrepreneur, husband, wife, whatever you're doing. If you're not reading a book a month at least, then your mindset's going to struggle, because we all wake up. Anybody that says they don't wake up with questionable thoughts they just aren't being honest.
Mm-hmm.
All of us go to bed and, with whatever we're thinking, and then we wake up with, with different things as well. And I've learned from reading that the minute I wake up, when my feet hit the carpet, I speak loudly 3 gratitudes before I leave my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I speak 3 gratitudes before I lay down in my bed at night. And I learned that from reading, because then I wake up a lot more intentive with purpose and awareness. Because the reading, I've been a long ranger,
mm-hmm.
And it's not exactly exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But even a long ranger had Tonto. But after a while, you both have the same ideas.
Right.
And the same ping pong ball goes back and forth. So going back to the beginning, for someone that's struggling, the long ranger, I came into this, with you guys being kind of a long ranger.
Mm-hmm.
And Rich will probably tell you that, there's that Greg guy calling me again. Good grief. I was just so thirsty to have someone to reach out to. And it didn't matter how much I knew or didn't know. It was just exciting to have someone to talk with.
Right.
So going back to the beginning on what those 3 are, that long ranger, finding someone you can be accountable to is so important. And reading is going to help bring out just so many manifestations.
Yeah.
So much gratitude, so much awareness, so much clarity. And that's what it's done for me. But for everybody in this industry, if you don't have clarity and awareness and a purpose, you might do okay, but it's not going to be sustainable, which so many agents quit this industry that could do $5-10 million a year, but they just didn't have any sustainable ideas to keep moving.
That's right. Which goes back to the power of a group or a team, sharing victories, sharing adversities, just having someone in your corner, like you said, because people just quit because it's not one thing that makes someone very successful. Some people are naturally more gifted at communication or sales in general. However, right, like our business, I think you and I share the same belief. We don't sell anything. It's simply, you have a problem. Okay, tell me a little bit about it. Tell me what your fears are. Tell me what your worries are. Tell me what your concerns are. And if your problems can be solved through our products and our services, I would love to be the person to help you, because I genuinely, and I'm talking about you genuinely care, right? And you're very confident that if that person wants to be taken care of, the best person to possibly do it is you, because you're doing it for the right reasons. You have tons of experience. You have access to the companies that are going to solve their problems. You're going to be there when she needs you. Right. And you do such a great job of really becoming like Carrie Heiss likes to say, becoming the glue in the relationship, because many agents and advisors have access to the same products, the same services, but the difference is the person, right? People want to do business and work with someone that they know. My realtor is one of my best friends from college. The guy who does my home insurance is my best friend from growing up. I know and trust these people, right? And that's so much of it. But, a lot of people as they get older, they never had an advisor, right? They just signed up with the 401k and now they don't know what to do. And that's where if they have the opportunity to speak to you, right there, of course, if you're a new agent, right, of course there's going to be doubt. Someone you've never met this person. We can do it over the phone, we can do it over Zoom, but it takes time to build trust. And that's why, look, if you've never been in the business, sometimes it takes 90-day periods from the first conversation to a yes or to a no, which goes back to how do I succeed? Well, you got to have people to talk to. And that's via a lead. And leads are a lot of different things. It can be a warm market. It can be your grandma. It can be your neighbor or your uncle. It can be a paid lead. It can be whatever it may be. But you have to have a steady avenue. And multiple is great, but you have to have people to talk to every day. I mean, that's an important piece to succeeding, correct? You could be the greatest educator or salesperson on the planet, but if you don't have people to talk to, you're not going to make any sales and you're not going to succeed in this business. So having people to talk to, having a good community, having an open mindset, clarity, intention, these are some of the reasons you are a top producer. So what are some of the things that you've taken, and we'll wrap up here in a minute, but what are some of the things that you've taken that you've learned in 2025 that you're going to grow and improve upon or focus on doing in 2026? Because I know you like to reflect and self-audit. So what are some of the things that you've learned this year that you think are going to benefit you moving forward next year?
Well, one, I've learned the value of having a variety of leads,
right?
But more having a variety, having the right group of people that are interested in wanting to see people succeed. Summit Life Group brings that. So agents can depend on that. The other thing that I really see is that having an exchange of value. When I'm talking to clients, what is my exchange of value? I could have the best product. I could be what I believe the best agent out there today. But what's my true exchange of value to them? Why are they going to invest with Greg Pierkowski? That's been probably the biggest thing that I've learned this last year, to be able to help more people in retirement, to do more volume, creating that exchange of value and finding out what their why is so important. And that's where agents miss that. And really, honestly, this last year, being more committed to my purpose. I was having this talk last night with the gentleman that actually writes this book. He's become a friend of mine.
Okay.
He flew into Kalamazoo and I got a chance to talk with him. But he said, Greg, what do you think's the most important you can do for a client? And I said, well, listen to them solve their problem. He said, no, that's not what it is. He said the most important thing you can do for them is to let them know that you're honestly concerned about them as a person. He said, before you go any further, and I looked at that over what I missed out this last year, and then not if I'm to be more focused on them and serving them, then that energy is going to automatically come back. So, I mean, to kind of sum it up, I don't need to wrap it up, but being more service oriented and wondering what can I do to help you? Because anytime, we talk about being stuck in the industry, I learned that when I started feeling stuck, I'd pick up the phone and ask somebody, what could I do for you? I know we've been talking about, investing for a little bit, but tell me, what can I do for you? I was just thinking about you. And the more I started doing that, sales would pop up and I'd get unstuck because I was thinking about more myself. But those are some of the most valuable things that I've learned on top of having a team of people. If you don't have a tight circle of people, a brotherhood, it's going to be tough to sustain long term. That brotherhood brings more value to your clients than what you realize as an agent, because your team's going to point out where your cracks are and help you improve so you can take better care of them.
Amen. I couldn't agree with you
more. I hope
more.
That made sense.
Yeah. It absolutely did. And like I said, whether you're someone looking at joining the industry, trying to hit new goals and break your own personal records, everything that you shared today does just that. You laid it out for people. And I love being in business with people just like you. I'm incredibly grateful for it because it's fun. Like you said, it's like a brotherhood, a team. a community. And when you do things in groups, if you create a big common goal and you're willing to put in the work for it, and you know, the adversity is some of the fun, right? Everything, you know, success is uphill, and it's so great and fulfilling to do it with people, right? And the things that you laid out, if I could go back to the 27-year-old self before I got in this industry and learned that, stay hungry, right? If you're new, stay hungry. Find people who have succeeded like Greg and reach out to them and latch on to them, because just one sentence can change the trajectory of your life. This industry has changed mine. I know it's changed yours. And every day we get to wake up. I remember opening the door to my office today and just feeling grateful for it. And I'm not trying to give cliche sayings, but like you said, you know, you're your boss, right? You make what you're willing to earn. And getting the ability to help people as a profession is something that I'm tremendously grateful for, because it's introduced me to people like yourself, who is a friend now. And I can't wait for Dallas here next week and have the opportunity to get around everybody and share goals and share adversities and share things that are working. So thank you for being on the call today and sharing a little bit of a small part of your very big story, Greg. I know 26 is going to be your biggest year of your career. I believe it. You're very focused on it. You've created a phenomenal plan. And I believe right now it's the greatest time to do what we do. I believe we're in the greatest industry in the country. And I believe we live in the greatest country on the planet because it gives us the opportunity to do what we do. So any last bits of advice or anything you'd like to add before we end our call today?
Absolutely. And, something that, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, working with you and Rich, even as long as I've been in this industry, Summit Life Group, now I'm only speaking for myself, but I think it would be for many. Summit Life Group, you guys gave my family a purpose. Being in the industry for such a long time, I know a lot about the industry, but knowing and not knowing what to do with it are two different things. Your organization at Summit Life Group is doing what nobody else is doing right now, and I openly and a non-biased know that with what you're doing with your heart, with training every day, agent access, the tremendous amount of leads, the investment that you make in agents. You guys have a heart above hearts, and you are the real deal for any agent, new or old, that wants to be a part of a growing industry, whether they want to do 2 million or 10 million. Summit Life Group is the place to go, because you're not an IMO, in my opinion. You're a family. And that's really what I mean. I struggle to say IMO, but because you're not. You're a family organization that any agent, this would be the right place for someone new and old and seasons to be a part of. And I thank you for what you've done, for our family, but for the many agents that I know that I've watched, that you've touched the lives of them, you and Rich, already, with the countless hours you guys have put into it. And I know in 2026, we haven't even scratched the surface. You'll always hear me say we, because I consider myself a Summit Life family person.
Absolutely.
But any agent that wants to come on board, Dave, you and Rich, we haven't even seen the beginning of the amount of people you guys are going to help.
Yep.
So I appreciate you having me on, Dave.
Absolutely, Greg. Thank you again so much. Have a great rest of your week. Happy New Year, and look forward to breaking records and seeing all your success in 2026. So I'll let you get back to it. Thank you, my friend.
Hey, I appreciate your blessings.